So I'm a father of one. I gotta find a babysitter. I found Care.com and I was blown away. Through the platform, I was able to find local and experienced candidates along with their reviews and rates, which were way more affordable than I anticipated. Care.com really put me at ease knowing that they were all required to go through a background check. If you're like me and you need to find someone reliable for your childcare necessities, check out Care.com. Find the ideal sitters for your childcare needs.
The following is a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowercat.com's Powercat Insiders podcast, presented by Commerce Bank, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here's your host, GoPowercat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the Powercat Insiders podcast, brought to you by Commerce Bank from the WTC Gig-Powered Studios here in downtown Manhattan. Tim Fitzgerald, Matt Walters from the Kansas State Learfield IMG Thingy-Majigger Radio Network. I'm never going to get it, Matt, because I'm not committed to it, man. Matt Walters is here with me. Riley Gates from Go Powercats on the phone from his family home in Beloit, where they are also erecting a statue of Riley Gates this holiday season.
They should start with his dad.
Oh,
his
yeah.
Dad worked for you long ago.
Yeah.
Well, they were going to start building that one, and then, they thought about it. They were like, I just don't think it's worth it. So they figured they'd get ahead of schedule. They'd go with me younger. It makes sense.
There we go. And sitting in with us this week is former Kansas State football player and host of the Tannehill and Spiller podcast, Travis Tannehill. Thank you, buddy.
How many catches and career yards did you have?
No idea.
Yeah, you do.
No, I do not. Although someone pointed out the other day that I never knew this until like a week ago. I was Sports Illustrated honorable mention All-American. I never knew that until I don't think unless it's AP or coaches, I don't think it really counts. But
coming out of high school or
no, in college, senior year. I was like, that's never knew anything All-American was tied to my name. But
that's awesome.
I was like,
I can tell you how many yards Travis Tannehill had. 528 yards and 3 touchdowns on 42 catches in his career.
That'll work.
There we go.
Look at you, Riley.
I may or may not have something later this week involving Travis Tannehill.
Wow.
Nice. Build the man a statue now.
Wow. And Travis was also in the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated. Little known fact.
No, definitely not.
We're shorthanded today.
No, we're not. There are 4 of us.
We've got 4 of us, but 2 of the regulars are gone. How dare them enjoy family time at the holidays? It's just not American. Ryan Black's back in Georgia. We will meet up with him in Memphis for the Liberty Bowl, and Kellis Robinette. The kids are out of school, and he's daddy daycare today. That is the most important job of all. Well, let's just dive right in, boys. First of all, we are sponsored by Commerce Bank.
Life is full of moments, big and small. Commerce Bank has the technology and the people to help with whatever financial challenges come your way. Commerce Bank challenge accepted.
Matt, that's the one part of this hosting gig I still don't get down, is remembering I need the little stack of cards like you have on radio. They're just right there. You can't miss it.
Right.
I always forget.
No, you handed it to me plenty of time.
St. Louis escapes the Sprint Center with a 66-63 victory over Kansas State on Saturday evening in Kansas City. It was a game K-State could have, should have, and didn't win. And it's an added frustration now for the 6-5 Wildcats.
It makes the break a lot longer.
Yeah, it does. They are not in action until next Sunday, or this upcoming Sunday, when they will play Tulsa, which has been a pain in there, for a couple seasons, is that Tulsa zone seems to baffle K-State. The Wildcats are staring at a 6-6 record if they can't overcome Tulsa as they head into Big 12 play in the new year. Matt, you were there. You called it on the radio with our friend Wyatt Thompson. How did it look from courtside?
Well, you can't get in the hole that K-State got in right away. Yeah. So they did not, again, come out firing on all cylinders, firing on 4 cylinders, whatever the case. And then they come back, they get in it. It winds up being tied at halftime. K-State gets a lead. It's a case of, don't bother me, Siri.
Siri just piped in for no reason.
She did. And there's just whatever it is. And this is coming out right now because I saw something on Twitter earlier. I saw a Christmas tree of Cheddar Bay biscuits from Red Lobster that they drizzled butter on. And I don't know about you. I'm a little bit overweight, but I could eat Cheddar Bay biscuits every day. Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback. Yep. You could, Fitz, I know you could. I'm sure Riley could.
Shoot.
But you have to have the right things in that recipe to make the perfect Cheddar Bay biscuits.
A little cheddar and some bay?
That helps. Okay. A little Old Bay and a little butter doesn't help. And a little cheddar. And right now, K-State doesn't have the cheddar. They don't have the Old Bay. It's just, it wasn't pretty. And Bruce, to his credit, you can tell that Bruce Weber is extremely frustrated. I mean, extremely frustrated.
Well, post-game radio Bruce and post-game press conference Bruce are often two different guys. How was he on the post-game radio?
He was frustrated, but it was held back by a dam. You can just tell.
That dam seems like it's about to break.
It's, occasionally you have to stick your thumb in some holes when water's leaking out a little bit. I think that's kind of where things are right now. Not that it can't be fixed, but K-State just has an issue in crunch time in the last 4 minutes. 18 field goals made, 18 turnovers. You don't have to say a lot else. They have a game where they shoot 20 out of 23 from the free throw line and they don't win. But they don't make plays down the stretch.
They don't, and this time, again, it was Cartier-Jada with the struggles. Riley Gates, I've never really seen a game. This plus-minus thing's new, and we've talked long about how we're not big believers in it. This time, it tells a story. It really does. All 5 starters for Kansas State were in the minus category, and the guys who came off the bench were in the plus category.
The starting 5 was minus 37.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and that almost half of that is minus 15 for Cartier-Jada. He had 6 turnovers, only 6 points in the game, and he only played 15 minutes and 25 seconds. Riley, there is a problem brewing with Cartier-Jada, and I don't know what it is.
It's unexplainable, honestly. I think it was really. I think people were kind of joking when they tweeted it. They were like, wow, blessing in disguise that Cartier-Jada picked up 2 fouls in the first few minutes of the game and went to the bench. But then David Sloan comes in, plays really well. They're like, oh, wow, look at that blessing in disguise. People were making light of it, but this is the way I saw it. That was probably the second domino to fall on what could end up being a disastrous year for Cartier-Jada. I mean, we talked, I think it was last week about that eye roll that we saw on the TV from the Mississippi State game. That was alarming. And then just the overall attitude, going to the bench, not really seeming all that engaged in the game. I'm starting to believe there's something up further than just he's struggling at bad basketball. I think this is a locker room issue that might be going on right now with Cartier-Jada. And I don't know if it's Bruce Weber that he's having an issue with. I don't know if it's another player he's having an issue with. Maybe he's not liking the competition from David Sloan. I don't know what it is, but the last few games, he put up 20 points against Mississippi State, but I still didn't feel like he was all that great. I obviously picked up the things that stood out to us in terms of his attitude. It's really weird. And I hope that the Christmas break gives Cartier-Jada a chance to kind of reset and figure things out. But man, this is getting bad, Fitz.
Fitz, remember we've talked about it multiple times now, especially in the last 2 weeks. And that is, from my standpoint, your head coach and your point guard had best be on the same page.
And they're not. They're not even close. And you don't need anyone to tell you that. You can see it with the body language. Travis, you've been in a team locker room environment. You've been on the field with teammates. When you have one guy just openly displaying bad body language, negativity, what does that do to the team dynamic?
I mean, from a team standpoint, there's only so much Bruce can do. I really think it has to come from those other 4 guys and really the whole team. I remember my freshman year, we had some woes, some ups and some downs, and lost some games that we felt like we should have won. And there really wasn't even a character issue or a problem issue. When a football team, you have 125 guys. There's always going to be a couple knuckleheads on the team, but
we have that on our podcast.
Yeah, just 1 or 2. So
there's one in this studio right now.
I know. So it's but the way that team developed through my freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior team and got a little bit better every single year was the players took accountability.
Right.
So that's what I think. I mean, Bruce can only do so much. He's going to get effort out of his guys. They're going to play hard.
So who's the responsibility on then? You said they're like those other four guys. Do you mean Xavier Sneed?
I think Xavier Sneed, yeah. I mean, he's
McCall Mayween.
I would say
Levi
X.
Stockard?
I would say X. I mean, he's got to be the leader on this team. I mean, when you look at Cardi, X, and Mayween, I mean, that's a pretty solid three men back who you expect to be able to rally behind and at least put a competitive ball team on the floor, which they're not really doing right now. We're not even in the Big 12 place. So I think it's got to come from X. He's your leader. He's got to pull Cardi up and say, hey, man, like, we need you. And I can live with not playing bad. So it's really the off the court issues and all that stuff that we're mentioning here.
Can I play off that, Fitz, for a second? I know where you were sitting at the game. Were you at the game?
I was not. No, watched it, but no.
Riley didn't have to cover, which is good. So if you remember, forgive me because I don't remember the exact time on the clock, but there was a late timeout. It was inside the final 2 minutes of the game, and Cartier had to check back in. I think it may have been after a David Sloan turnover, but X and Cartier were at the scorer's table, and they were both sitting on the floor. That timeout comes. X literally had to help pick Cartier up, like you do when a teammate goes down and grab him by the fist or whatever, pull him up. Cartier, all the way from the scores table to the huddle, was in his ear talking to him about keeping his head in the game as they went back to the huddle. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
Xavier Sneed's got an immense amount on his plate. Everybody expects him to lead this team in scoring. Everybody expects him to be the leader. Now, on top of it, are you asking him to keep his point guard's head in it because they need?
Okay, clarification. I might have misheard or you might have misspoke. X was in Cardi's ear, or Cardi was okay? Yeah, I know.
And it's not just him. There's other guys trying to.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, these are all grown men out there. I mean, they're all 19, 20, 21 years old. I mean, no one can control this except Cardi. So, I mean, everyone can help and Bruce can help. But at the end of the day, Cardi's got to grow up, be a man, and go out there and play basketball. So that's really, we can talk about everyone else doing their role and doing their job. But if someone's not willing to listen, which I've played dozens and dozens of teammates who just aren't willing to listen and aren't willing to take the help when it's there, and eventually, I mean, there's only one way that those guys go, and that's out of the program. So.
Something's going on, and you can see that the team wants to play for David Sloan, Riley. I mean, you can just see the team seems to perk up when he comes onto the court now, and I think from my outside view, that seems to be pouring gasoline onto the situation because it's pretty clear that they're not functioning well with Cardi, and now he's seeing someone kind of supplant him as a team leader, as the point guard, and it only seems to add to the confusion of this team. But they did start playing well. They got down early. Cardi gets his second foul. David Sloan comes in, and they start playing better basketball. And we will get to Levi Stockard in a little bit, but boy, he played the game of his life. He finally looked like the Levi Stockard that had 4 stars by his name when he was recruited. He finally looked like a guy invested in playing good, and that was a very positive sign. But David Sloan needs to be the starting point guard, and I'm just going to say it. I think everyone knows that at this point, except for Cartier Jada and Bruce Weber.
And I have a feeling that Bruce Weber might even know it just doesn't want to accept it. I think
he's loyal to a fault.
Yeah, and he's looking for any opportunity he can to say, Cardi, pull your head out. Let's go. Let's get back to the guy you used to be, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just not even if Cartier gets back to a point where he's producing at a high level, if he's playing well, I still think it's best suited if David Sloan becomes the point guard. And you find a different role for Cardi to play because, you watch David Sloan out there on the floor, and it was literally like a switch was flipped, and it was a different team on the floor. The offense immediately started scoring. Well, they didn't hit a shot for maybe not quite 6 minutes. I don't have the scoring up in front of me, but they started slow. They couldn't get baskets going, and then immediately David Sloan comes in, and boom, you're a scoring team once again. And it did not take a plus minus stat. It did not take
the play hard chart.
Analytics or play hard chart. It didn't take anything for somebody to watch that game and go, wow, this team's better with David Sloan on the floor. Now, I know he had a costly turnover at the end. I know at the end of the day, like that one's going to stick out like a sore thumb. but this team's so much better when he's on the floor. You didn't recruit a JUCO point guard that lit up the country last year to sit on the bench. You recruited him to come play point guard. Let him play the point guard.
Fitzy, I know how you meant. I know what you meant. Bruce Weber's been around the block long enough and has coached at a high enough level. He knows. It's just a matter of when. Is it going to be for the Tulsa game, or is it going to be when K-State goes on the road to Oklahoma to start Big 12 play? Personally, if it were me and I was getting that paycheck, it would have been Saturday night against St. Louis. Now I think it's got to be Tulsa this coming Sunday because the crowd's not going to be huge. It's still the holidays. It's not going to be a pressure-packed situation. But I personally think you have to pull the trigger now on it.
Now, I want to put a giant asterisk by what I'm about to say because these are much different situations. I am in no way saying Cartier-Jada is Marcus Foster. But I want to bring up the Marcus Foster situation for one point. Bruce Weber did everything in his power to save that young man. Kept giving him chance after chance. He refused to give up on him, probably to the detriment of his team that season. And I can see that he might do the same here with Cartier. He knows how good he can be. He knows he's a good kid. He is a good kid. There's just something going on, and he might be understanding this, that if he pulls the plug on Cartier-Jada as the starter, you might lose him for good.
It's possible.
You might lose him for good. Now, I'm with Riley. I think you keep him in the lineup. You just slide him over to the 2 and take Mike McGurl out of the lineup, who I think is better suited to be the energy guy coming off the bench. But this almost feels like a quarterback change to me. And when you change quarterbacks, it's not just changing a player. It can be very dramatic for a team.
Yeah, and that was going to be my one hesitation with Matt saying that Bruce needs to, get this going sooner than later is, Bruce has to tread lightly. I mean, he has to be careful about this. I mean, this can spiral Cartier down a path that, no one wants to see him go. I mean, there might be, we just don't know what's going to happen or what exactly is going on. So Bruce just has to be careful. No one knows the situation better than him. So I think, yes, there needs to be a change, but Bruce just has to be very, very wise. And you hate to see a player able to hold a coach, quote unquote, hostage, which we see happen sometimes. I don't think this is necessarily that, but these are very touchy, like quarterbacks, like any type of star player. Things get a little emotional, and just got to be very, very careful and delicate in this situation.
Totally agree. If it were me, I make the change for Sunday's game.
Right.
But we've heard Bruce say, whether it's Riley, whether it's you, Trav, Bruce has said it's my job as the head coach to help these guys out and to help them along. And he has been doing that. This has not been a game or two issue through the first 11 games. Agreed?
Yeah.
I think all four of us can agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're one game outside of starting conference play. That's why I say if it were me, I make that change right now. And somehow you have to do everything you can to help Cartier to make him understand you're a valuable, vital part of this team. We need you. We got you. We're going to – and it's not like you're not going to do this forever again the rest of your career here. But Bruce also has how many other guys he's responsible for as well.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Riley.
No, and I was just going to add on to Matt's point, kind of to agree with him there, is the fact that I think it gives you – it's the perfect time. The conference play thing is one thing, but the Christmas break, even though it's short, I think it gives you a chance to kind of go, hey, we analyzed this. We looked at it a million ways, tried to keep you in this position. You can set this up to a point where it does not look like a demotion or it does not feel like a demotion if you keep him on the floor and you just find a new role for him. I think you can make a good thing out of a bad situation with the way that he's playing right now. Now, I'll add this, and Fitz, I'm still in the same camp with you, the way that we've both been on Mike McGurl this year, that I think he's a terrific player to bring off the bench and definitely would be well suited in that role. He's starting to get to a point though where you got to look at him, and if you think about moving Cardi down to the 2, at some point you got to compare him and say, does Mike deserve to start more? I mean, I know he would bring that great energy off the bench, but if he keeps playing in the way that he's playing, it's almost to a point where it's like we need to reward him for his play.
Yeah,
Fitzy, let me ask you a question.
Plays extremely hard,
just to see what you think, because in Saturday night's game, for a good chunk of the night, the best lineup, in my opinion, that K-State had on the floor, Sloan, Cartier, and again, he didn't play much, but when K-State had 3 guards out there, Sloan, Cartier, McGurl, X, and Stockard. Now, that's not going to be that way every game, but I think there are times where K-State with that 3-guard lineup can be really, really good because then they can get out in transition. We've talked about that. How many points without looking at your box? Don't look. How many points did K-State have in transition Saturday night?
I don't know. I have no clue.
Trav, you want to take a guess?
No.
0. None. Did not have one transition basket in
This
that
is
The whole night?
The entire night.
Wow.
One of my ongoing bits of confusion with Bruce Weber is it always looks like his team wants to be in the open court, but he says he wants them to run but doesn't let them run. You know, it's just they never seem to get out and do it. And as bad as this team has been, this program has been historically in the half court, let alone the problems that they have at zones, but just bad half court offense, the best way to address that is don't ever be in it. Try to get up and down the court. They have the athletes to do it. I find a great deal of confusion there. They did play good defense. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
They forced a lot of turnovers. Where's the number? Let me find it here.
K-State forced 15.
Yeah, 15, and it was, I think, 2/3 of that was at halftime. But we sit here and talk about Cartier Jada up and down, and he's got some problems. But he may not be the biggest problem. Mikal Maween, what is going on with this kid? It's like he just has regressed. He's less effective right now than he was the first day he stepped on the court for Kansas State after transferring in. It's baffling. He played less than 12 minutes. He was 1 of 4. He did have 3 rebounds. He just is absent without leave. He's going through the motions. I'm just baffled. So now we're talking about 2 of the 3 guys you thought you would lean on this season for leadership and production, and they're both AWOL. You can't function that way as a team.
Yeah, he's really been, a mystery to me. And Bruce does a pretty decent job of developing guys and developing big men. He's not the best in the country by any means, but does a pretty nice job of getting the most out of his guys. He doesn't always get the best guys in on day one, but he seems to tap into that talent as much as he possibly can. And, he's just a head-scratcher. It's just like, I don't understand what it is, how he's not productive, and then we've seen kind of the effort dwindle a little bit as well. So it's just, I don't know the answer, and if I did, I'm sure Bruce would hire me because that's got to be one of the bigger frustrating points for that coaching staff and trying to get more out of him.
If a couple things go wrong early, doesn't hit a couple shots, maybe doesn't get a rebound or 2, then you see the plug pulled in the bottom of the bathtub and the energy starts to run out. He's a head scratcher. I don't get that one as well because he's gifted, he's got talent. He's not a dominant 4 or 5, whatever you want to call him, but
he typically plays really, really good defense and rebounds the ball.
Yeah.
He gets into trouble most often when he tries to do too much on the offensive end, and maybe that's the problem. They were asking too much of him on the offensive end,
and now they're barely looking to him.
I know. Well, he shot a fadeaway 8-footer on Saturday night that went about 6 feet. Mm-hmm. It was as bad a miss as I've seen in a long time that was totally unaffected by defense. It was horrific.
I don't want to say I'm giving up on him, but at some point we can't just keep asking and saying, when is Matt going to snap out of it? When is he going to figure it out again? This is what it is at this point, I think. I really am of the belief that it's like, hey, he was really good when he had Dean Wade complimenting him. But at the end of the day, he's just not good enough to do it by himself. That's the camp I'm in until he proves me wrong.
I'm with you. And I'm about to say something I never, ever, ever thought I'd say. Thank God for Levi Stockard. He played his butt off. That's the first time I felt like Levi was passionate about being on the basketball court at Kansas State. 17 points. He played hard. He defended hard. He was the player of the game.
He had never had a double-figure game until Saturday night.
And he looked very comfortable in doing it. Most notably, that this stat tells me he was really locked in. He was 7 of 9 from the free throw line, 5 of 5 from the field.
And Bruce has been after him. On post-game radio, Bruce said, I've been calling him Lazy Levi, and we're not going to let you leave just being blah, being humdrum and not being anybody. And for whatever reason, he's one of those kids. You got to keep the old Bic lighter under his backside and singeing the hair back there every so often to get him going. And Fitz, you said he looked like he was engaged, and you still can't tell it on his face.
He is very stoic.
But he was dialed in. And I said it during the broadcast. Think of where K-State would have been in that game if Levi Stockard had not played the way that he did.
Oh, my goodness.
Could have lost by 15 or 20.
Yeah, you would have. You really would have.
I'm telling you, St. Louis has some dudes. They got a couple dudes on there. And that point guard is going to be really good.
They have a true freshman point guard that absolutely tore up K-State.
And K-State really liked him. I think there was a chance he might have wound up here.
I wish he had. His head bounced off the court at one point, and he got up and played a whale of a game. He really gave Cardiajada trouble, just pickpocketing him, just taking the ball away from him. It was frustrating to watch to see a freshman do that to a veteran player. I don't know where this team's headed, guys. I don't.
Hit the reset button. You hope the short break does something for this team.
Yep. That's all I can come up with. And I guess my closing thought on basketball right now is Bruce needs to unlearn everything he thought he knew about his team. And I know he's a loyal guy, but you got to play the players. And if you're going to have 6 turnovers, if you're going to have mistakes, let it be the freshmen to learn from them, because these freshmen, there's something about them I really like. They weren't particularly great as a group on Saturday, right? They were okay. You just mentioned the best lineup, and none of the freshmen were in that lineup.
Antonio got gun shy early on after he missed a couple shots.
Yep. And Murphy, you can tell, is struggling back, and Dejuan Gordon just it was so easy in high school for him, I think, and now it's not easy. I appreciate how well he defends, though. I mean, he took over that point guard, covering that guy. I can't even think of his name here. What was his name? He was something else. Yuri Collins, the freshman. He took over covering him late in the game. But I'd say just go with Stockard. Go with next year's lineup plus X, and let him go and see what happens. But then, Travis, you might run into a problem with that locker room again.
Yep.
If you are taking minutes away from seniors and juniors for freshmen, oh boy.
Matt, you got to watch the game on the side or in the score box on the sideline. How's overall just the confidence of the team? I mean, obviously they listen, they check things, they're not playing very well. I mean, can you tell? It's a little harder to see from the TV angle, but from your angle, how is the team's confidence, would you say?
Average at best.
At best. Do you think Bruce should maybe take just from a play from the Chris Kleiman playbook? I mean, remember earlier on in this football season, I mean, he was praising that team in false confidence and really building those guys up when they probably didn't deserve to be built up, just because he felt like they just didn't have enough confidence. And over the season, I felt like that helped that football program. I mean, would you see that helping a team like this where Bruce can maybe just, give them some false confidence and that might help things? Because I think Bruce is a pretty fair coach. You mess up, you get chewed. You do well, you get rewarded. Is it time maybe for Bruce to change that style and just false confidence across the board?
It's an interesting take.
Maybe some of that has been what's taken place in the first 11 games. But Bruce does get after them. Mm-hmm. Personally, I don't think this team needs false confidence. I think they need a dose of reality. If they haven't drank it yet, they need to, because just of where that's what's crazy. We have seen really nice stretches of basketball from this team.
I covered this team in Vegas, and we joked at the time we didn't really need to cover that game, but I wanted to go to Vegas. But now I'm really glad I was there, because I saw a team that knew how to win a game late, and the freshmen were a big part of that. And they won a very competitive game by making the plays to get the game into overtime and then win it in overtime. That team was not present on Saturday night. St. Louis made all the plays down the stretch. If there was a bad thing to be done, K-State executed it. Turnovers, just silly turnovers down the stretch, and they just didn't play well in St. Louis. I mean, it goes down as a 3-point victory, but it felt like it was a bigger spread than that.
I get what you're saying, Travis, but I think false confidence
isn't going to help out much right now.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, no, I don't think they would buy into that. I think that it was good for the football team in terms of And I don't think you can deny that it benefited them. I think if this team got that type of encouragement or words, whatever, I think it would be more like, okay, we know that he's just saying things to try to get us to feel good about ourselves. I'm kind of more on the side that Matt was there where, hey, you need to tell it like it is. You're 6-5, figure it out at this point, and maybe that lights the fire under them.
Well, that'll do it for the first half of this Powercat Insiders podcast. When we return after the break, we're going to turn our attention to football. And the Liberty Bowl is coming up quickly on December 31st in Memphis.
Stay locked in. The Powercat Podcast will be right back.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify is here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
We now send it back to Fitz in the WTC Gig-Powered Studios.
Welcome back to the Powercat Insiders podcast brought to you by Commerce Bank. We just dissected the basketball team and figured nothing out. That's the kind of quality broadcasting you get from us right there. We think we have ideas.
I figured something out. Trav knows football. He figured something out.
Shoot.
To go back to basketball real briefly, this is going to be a fascinating case study to see what Bruce Weber does.
Right.
He has.
And when.
He has in his immediate past a situation of being so painfully loyal to the players that the team just kind of came apart. That team was good enough to win some big games. I don't even think this team can win those big games because they just don't have the raw talent that Marcus Foster team had. Will he handle this differently? Will he go young? Will he actually take time away from the veterans that we expected to be the core of this team? It's interesting. And meanwhile, over on the football field, Kansas State is preparing for a really good Navy team in the Liberty Bowl, but they also signed one heck of a recruiting class, at least in my opinion, for the Kansas State football program. They wrapped up 23 guys. There's a couple blue shirts and a gray shirt in there and all kinds of colored shirts that I can explain at a later time. But
yeah, where'd the blue shirt thing come from?
This is something that came up. I noticed KU was doing it under the previous coaching staff. I think it is the stupidest rule I've ever heard from the NCAA, and they have a lot of stupid rules. A blue shirt is this. If you have nothing officially recorded that you were recruited, you didn't take an official visit, no coach paid travel to go see you, if there's nothing on the NCAA books noting your recruitment, you can walk into camp when classes start, after the 105 guys show up and then classes start and everyone can show up and say, hey, I want to play football at Kansas State. Here's a scholarship. But it counts in the 2021 class. That's what I don't get. How does a kid on scholarship for 2020 when his scholarship counts in 21? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Shoulder injury.
That's a blue shirt right there. Gray shirt will be Panzer young man, and he's got a leg injury that he'll just do the part-time student thing or not do a student thing in the fall. That's what that rule's for. It's not for screwing over players like the SEC started doing. It's for someone that has maybe an academic issue or a health issue to be part-time, and then their eligibility clock doesn't start till January when they become a full-time student. So.
I was a gray shirt. So.
Oh, that's right. You were.
Came off an elbow injury in high school and needed to get healed up. And
how tough was that first semester?
Oh, what was real tough was January when you did not realize that you should have been working out all fall and staying in shape. And you were in like 6 credit hours. I think you couldn't be full time, so you had to be like 6 credit hours, and but you couldn't work out with the team or you really even use their facilities. So it was January sucked.
Yeah,
but fall was fine. It was all right.
I bet they got very creative with this class.
Panzer the leg injury and Sam Shields the shoulder injury.
Right, and
is Sam gray shirting? Or
he's the blue shirt.
He's the blue shirt. Okay.
He's one of the 2 blue shirts, along with Felix and Udiki from Lee Summit, a defensive end that flipped from North Dakota State late in the process. So those 2 guys will be blue shirts. And then Panzer's a gray shirt, but 23 guys. They sent 5 JUCO guys, Matt. That kind of caught me off guard. I thought they would get that high, but Coach Kleiman kept saying, no, we don't want to really do this route. But they needed an offensive lineman. Heck, they needed a couple offensive linemen. They just couldn't find the right tackle that fit their criteria, which means being eligible in January. Nobody they were recruiting popped up and really took care of their business. And then 4 guys on the defensive side, including 2 defensive tackles.
Well, 3 of the JUCO guys were very, very late.
Yeah.
In terms of K-State getting them. And what's also an interesting story about it, the 2 guys, Gaines and Gardner, that come from Hutch, because Hutch's coach, Ryan Rhodes, on his way to Arkansas. And K-State still wound up getting them. That was an extremely late development. The Del Forge kid out of Wamego got 0 interest coming out of high school, but he is a road grader now at 6'5" and about 315, and that's the kind of guys they want up front that they had at North Dakota State. So I'm with you. I always chuckle at the various recruiting rankings. Mm-hmm. One service gives K-State a 6, another gives K-State a 9. I like this class. I think they addressed a lot of things. I wish they would have gotten another wide receiver. That's just me.
Well, with Chris Herron leaving now, it really becomes important.
Yeah, this was a good class, and who knows? Maybe by the time we get to mid-February, they have one. They get another one.
Well, it's not a class out of context for K-State fans that have watched Bill Snyder put together classes like this in the past. I think the differences here with the later version of Bill Snyder classes are there's not a lot of fodder in this class. There's not a lot of filling in at the end with guys that may or may not make it. They didn't roll many die on these coaches. They really, sat there and got after it with guys early, and they got the class filled up. The other thing that reminds me of older Bill Snyder classes are these 5 JUCO guys. These aren't JUCO guys. These are JUCO All-Americans, all-conference guys. These are highly desired JUCO players, not JUCO projects, which quite often, Travis, is what Bill Snyder was bringing in towards the end. It's just guys that might develop into something when they probably should have arrived as serious players.
Yeah, if you're a JUCO guy and you're coming in as with 2 or maybe 3 years left, I mean, you got to be ready to play. You don't have time to sit a year or put on weight or figure out the offense. I mean, you got to be ready to go. So, and like you said, some people criticize the JUCO recruiting more. I mean, as a player, we could care less whether you came from JUCO, whether you came from high school.
Can you play?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I mean, if you can play, and whether you were at JUCO whether because you were too small and now you grew 6 inches, or you were at JUCO because of grades, like, who cares? If you can pass classes now, let's get you out there. So I was able to play alongside some amazing JUCO guys, and being able to plug those key guys in, because still a freshman showing up, this summer. I mean, realistically, they're still 2, probably 3 years away from making an impact. Where those JUCO guys, I mean, they're gone in 3 years, so they have to get immediate production out of those guys.
Riley, you have been on the parade here for this JUCO class and how honored they were coming out of their situations, but who is your favorite of those 5 that are arriving at Kansas State?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I look at it, I like Kamari Gaines' film the most. I mean, it's easy to say him, because he's the highest rated JUCO player coming in. And I don't mean it like that, but man, when I watch him, I look at him and I think, what a great addition to put in there alongside Wyatt Hubert, because we know what Wyatt Hubert can do. I mean, he was a first-team All-Big 12 player this year, and he's going to get so many double teams next year. It's not even funny that I think that Kamari might be able to, assuming he's going to have a shot at that other starting defensive end role, he's going to have that opportunity to get in there and make plays, because that offensive line is going to be so focused on stopping someone like Wyatt Hubert. Well, then if you want to go stop Kamari, fine, then just let Wyatt Hubert go make a lot of sacks. I think he comes into a perfect situation. I think he's a great player. Overall, I think that Dawson Delforge will start on the offensive line. I think that Kamari will start on the defensive line. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw another one of these JUCO defensive linemen get a start on there when it comes to replacing Jordan Mitty and Trey Deshawn. It's kind of weird that in a year where you see so many linemen leave on both sides of the ball, 8 total, we could see two or three junior college players get that immediate start. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is weird. My favorite is Robert Hintz II. There's been comparisons from our staff of Tank Reese. Maybe he was a little bit taller, but there's something about their build, kind of the low neck, big rounded shoulders, and he just gets underneath people and wreaks havoc.
Did you say low neck or no neck?
Yeah, probably no neck. Okay, he's just got that rounded shoulder thing going up, and boy, he causes trouble. It's an intriguing class. We could go on a lot about it. We have it. Go Powercat, and I'm just going to put in another plug here. I just lost.
I want to say one thing. You find what you're going to say, okay?
Yeah.
I like Gardner for the simple reason he's not 5'9".
Yeah.
You have a quarterback that's got some length to him now.
Justin Gardner, they're going out and finding, he's out of Hutch at 6'2", 180, pretty darn good. Nate Matlack, I don't know. You talked about recruiting services. We're part of 24/7, but how this kid doesn't have a 4-star is just beyond my understanding.
He's an animal. He's an animal.
Fellow Olathe East alumni.
Yep.
Yeah, and Jay Harris was the MVP of the 5A championship game in Texas, the defensive MVP, and he also is a 3-star that I don't quite understand.
Don't these guys can't they still get bumped up?
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be a final evaluation. We'll see what happens. I will certainly be in someone's ear hole about these guys. Let's take another look at them, because there's some pretty darn good players in this class, and we also need to mention Will Howard. They seem to get their quarterback of the future in this class, and
they got a lot of guys early, Fitzy, and held on to them for a long period of time.
That was intriguing to me.
Which is hard to do.
It's hard. They really seem to sell them. I don't always want to sound like I'm insulting the previous regime, because God knows where we'd be without them, but it seemed like the process of selling them on K-State was a little more thorough. These guys were really bought into being part of the program. Now, I also think part of that is Taylor Bratt talked about it when he was in the studios last week. They're all connected into Snapchat groups, Twitter conversations, text conversations. Social media now connects these guys before they ever get to campus, and I think it's pretty cool. And
I think, too, when you get guys, I think Matlock was one of the earlier commitments. When you get guys, and then he started recruiting other guys. You saw it happen on social media, and when you start seeing, someone lists their top 5 and K-State's a part of it, you start seeing these guys who are already committed reaching out to them via social media and recruiting further. I mean, that's the best recruitment tool there is current guys and current players and guys that you're going to be rooming with in the dorms. When those guys are vouching and trying to get you to come to campus, I mean, that's when something truly special can happen, I think.
Some of these guys will show up in January. A couple of them probably can be counted back into last year's recruiting class, which you're able to do if you're under 25 in that class and you have some space on your roster. You can count back so you can add some more. I think they will go find a receiver. They've kind of denied they have a problem there. It was interesting. We really like the young guys. Well, one of the young guys just left. I think they'll go find a receiver. I think if they can find a JUCO offensive tackle, they will go find one of those. And who knows? Maybe they'll go find a grad transfer here and there. But I know this. I really like the class. I don't care that it's ranked 9th. K-State was built on these kind of classes. But it was top 50, which is the highest in quite a while for Kansas State. So very good. It's nice to see. It's hard to get that momentum going in your first full year of recruiting. And now they can continue building those relationships for the 21 and 22 classes.
Just the recruiting buzz is nice to see.
I know.
From the little videos that are coming out all the time, I mean, the staff up at K-State, I think, is doing a
the
great
Lego
job.
characters.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
oh
Lego
my goodness,
characters.
that got national media attention.
I mean, all that stuff is cool, and there wasn't buzz for a long time on the recruiting trail, and now there is.
Well, they didn't have a full movie production like Oklahoma. Did you see that? The 4-minute movie? Skydiving and like spy stuff, and Lincoln Riley coordinating I don't know what was going on. It was really cool.
Tell you right now,
no idea what the point was.
Lincoln Riley is going to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
I don't see any
we
way.
can only hope, Matt. Do not get my hopes up like that.
Yeah, it was
I can't believe he's not their head coach today after what happened yesterday.
Yeah, was that loss to the Eagles kind of nice for you, Riley Gates? Like, you don't want your team to lose, but at some point you're caught in limbo and you can't move on from a coach.
Oh yeah, that's what I was telling someone here. I was like, I mean, they go 8-8 or 9-7, they make the playoffs, they get rolled in the first round. Do I really want to extend this out until January? Like, I almost just want them to lose next week. Go lose the last game of the year and just miss the playoffs. I'm so done, man. I'm so done.
Lincoln Riley and Cliff Kingsbury hooking up next year.
It's interesting. Matt Rule maybe also in the NFL. He seems to have that brand around him. We will be in Memphis coming up here pretty soon, Matt.
Can't wait.
And Travis and Monty Spiller will convene at some point to do a Tannehill and Spiller podcast. Boy, that got popular. I was jealous.
How?
I think it was
Spiller's got the voice of a sex god.
Yes.
My name's Monty Spiller. After dark.
He's got the Morgan Freeman / James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Vocal cords. Fitz, what's the first thing that you have to eat on Christmas Day?
Wow, that came out of nowhere. It's like an overtime question.
It's Christmas and you haven't even touched on.
First thing I have to eat is I don't know. We're doing a big buffet down in Wichita, so I'll go for the ham. I'm a ham guy. Nothing like a dead pig to make my heart feel good.
Man.
Old people food.
Prime rib guy.
Oh, yeah. If they have some prime rib, I'll be in that.
Yeah, we had prime rib 2 days ago at my parents' house. And this year, for the first time, my father-in-law, who's a rancher, so we're going to have homegrown prime rib from one of his cows. So we'll see if should be excellent. As long as they don't burn it. As long as
Where do I go?
Yeah, where we?
We'll be about 45 miles south of Junction City, so Marion County, Kansas.
Where do they have it in Belvoir?
That's Beloit.
That's Beloit for you.
Oh, I did not.
Sorry. What are you having?
We don't really. So like, our family doesn't do something major. We kind of like hang around.
Because you have 12 children, you can't afford to feed you. There are 4 Gates children.
Wow. We will wake up in the morning and we will do some gifts and
asked about food.
He wants to know food.
I was setting up the story. We will have some drinks and we will probably do some like appetizer type stuff. And then at night we will go to my grandma's house and she does like roast beef and she might have ham, makes mac and cheese. That's pretty good.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, we started last year. We go to Wichita. We all kind of convene at a hotel suite, and the ambassador down there has an unbelievable buffet. Unbelievable.
Not going to have what we had in the old days at the Walters Christmas, but we're grilling. We're going to have ribeyes on Wednesday because it's going to be in the 60s.
That's a solid move.
And Red Lobster biscuits.
Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Cheddar Bay
That's
biscuits.
an option, actually. We used to have pheasant and crab rangoon and the best mushrooms ever, just like little appetizers like Riley, but not
That's kind of an eclectic mix of things.
It is.
Very good. How do you feel about this bowl game?
I'm thrilled to play Navy for the first time. I wish it was elsewhere. I wanted K-State and Notre Dame. It didn't happen, but I'm thrilled. I've never seen Navy in person. I've watched part of the Army game. I'm going to watch most of it probably tonight, and I think it's cool. I love the fact that we're playing Army, that K-State's playing Army.
Navy. I'm famished.
Well, that shows how excited he is for the bowl.
I'd like to play Army here because of Fort Riley, but
Yeah, they've tried that. It just never worked out.
I want to see Malcolm Perry now face to face.
Man, this triple option offense is scary because if you don't handle it right, Trav.
Oh, it can get bad in a hurry.
It got so bad for Army. Army runs the damn offense, and they couldn't stop Malcolm Perry. They were so confused. The guy's a magician. He's just really good.
Yeah.
And if you let that quarterback go unchecked, literally, if you don't get someone on him early, you're in big trouble with that. You're just big trouble. It's intriguing to me. It's like, in some ways, K-State's worst nightmare in a bowl game. The team that had problems tackling and wrapping up now has to try to stop this offense. But maybe it's good.
In some ways, maybe it's a little easier to defend.
I think so.
In some ways.
I mean, it's one-dimensional for sure. That helps.
It's a damn good dimension.
You don't have to worry about them running plays every 9 seconds. I like the matchup.
I think having the entire month goes a long way. I mean,
the matchup.
I think you saw notable steps forward in the wrapping up department in terms of their tackling after those bye weeks, and that was just 1 week off. So I mean, you get 3-4 off in between that Iowa State game and this one. I think that will go a really long way towards helping K-State kind of be ready for this. And like Travis just said right there, it's one-dimensional. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to prepare for. I'm not saying Scotty Hazelton isn't up late at night trying to draw up different defensive schemes. But I feel like after a while, it's like, all right, this is a triple option. You know how to generally defend it. Here's some different options you're going to get out of it. I mean, like it's not like there's tons and tons that you have to learn about it. I mean, it's just a few different options off of that play. I trust that Scotty Hazelton, having an entire month under his belt, is going to be able to get them ready to go.
Did it sound to you like at Chris Clemens' press conference, he did the double press conference thing with recruiting, and then we turned our attention to the bowl game, that they're putting in a defense for this game? It sounded like they're going to do some completely different stuff to address this offense.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I think you got to be great on third down.
Which they are.
And typically, Casey's been really good on third down because you can't let Navy have 6-7 minute drives. But I'm thrilled about the matchup. I bet if you ask Travis, I bet he'd say, I wish I got to play against our Navy.
Shoot. Wouldn't better in Syracuse. That'd have been a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But no, I think I like Scotty's mentality from a defensive side of the ball. I think he's going to come out and try to attack this offense and really try to find some areas where Trey Deshawn and Wyatt Hubert and Reggie Walker can find some weaknesses and really get off the ball and really attack and blow up that triple option. Where I think if you just sit back and kind of hope you play your assignments right and hope you're going to make tackles when it happens, you're going to get nickeled and dimed for 4, 5, 6, 7 yards up and down the field. So I think Coach Hazelton's not if
he's not a sit back and wait.
He's not scared. If they bust off a 60-yard, triple option, someone takes the quarterback and the pitch key or the guy who's supposed to take the pitch got blocked or got caught up in traffic and they go off for a 65-yard touchdown. I mean, I don't think Coach Hazelton, it sucks, but he's not scared of that, and he's not scared to have his guys make those mistakes because he knows he might be able to send Wyatt Hubert in there and blow up a mesh point and create a turnover. So I think he's going to be aggressive and attack that triple option because I don't think you can sit back or you're just going to get nickeled and dimed for 5 yards.
It looked like Army was so convicted to being sound. They got mechanical on defense.
Yeah, and you play slow when you're trying to. Yeah,
this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing it.
Change.
I'm doing it, and there's no passion to playing the game. That's what it looked like to me. So you have to find that balance. This is all about balance for K-State's defense. You have to be aggressive without forgetting your assignment. If you're a defensive back, you have to never lose track of your receiver or someone coming out of the backfield as a receiver, because that's when they throw the ball.
I'm interested to see how Navy mixes the pass in with what they do.
They threw one pass against Army. They will throw more than that against Kansas State.
What they did throwing the football against Army or Notre Dame or in a couple of their other games this year, how do they go about throwing the football against K-State? Because K-State sees it so much over the course of the year. That's why, and Chris Kleiman said, you got to make sure that guy doesn't get behind you. Like you said, sneaking a running back out. Well, K-State defends that every day. They're accustomed to that. So I'm thrilled.
I am too. Did we do a read? in this half? I think we skipped over it, man. I told you I stink at this.
The good folks at Commerce Bank not only wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and remember, whatever financial challenges come your way, Commerce Bank can help. Commerce Bank challenge accepted.
And we will convene in different forms at the bowl game.
Take this with you.
We will be podcasting every day. That's a good point. I need to take all my reads with me. We'll be podcasting every day. Matt won't arrive in until the day prior to the game, and I think we'll do a little podcast with us.
Great.
My good friend. And Ryan and Kellis are down for a Sources podcast. Monty and Travis will whip together something on this end, maybe pre or post.
Pre.
Maybe both? Pre?
Maybe both.
Okay.
For sure, pre. Maybe both.
Get him out of the duck blind or the deer stand.
Oh, no. I know.
I hope you hit something.
Shoot. I'll try not to shoot Colin tomorrow. So.
Is that who you're going with?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we need him.
We need our quarterbacks coach, so we'll try not to have a firearm discharge in his foot or something. That'd be bad.
And we will also have a pregame podcast from down in Memphis as we prepare you for the Liberty Bowl. Robbins Motor Company is a sponsor of that podcast, and they are also sponsor of the Robbins Road Trip, as we will be taking one of their fine vehicles with us to Memphis and
safe travels,
and absolutely trashing it. We're gonna eat nachos in there. No, we're not going to do that. It's a Robbins Road Trip, and we are going to attempt, don't do this at home, children, to podcast from inside the vehicle as we drive down the highway.
Oh, God.
Now,
Lord have mercy.
The most challenging thing about that is we will probably have D. Scott Fritchen driving at that point, since he's not part of the regular podcast crew. And he's easily distracted. If he doesn't have enough coffee, guys, he can get in trouble real fast. So, but we are heading out the 27th. We'll be on the road. It sounds like most of the media is heading down to the 27th. And like I said, we'll be podcasting nonstop from Memphis. I hope all of you have a very, very good Christmas. Thank you to the gang here. We didn't touch on a lot of football, but there's more time to do that. And God knows I can't talk more basketball right now. I'm getting depressed. It's the holidays, and I don't want to be depressed.
Don't be depressed.
This basketball.
People have it a lot worse than you do.
Yep.
Oh, they sure do. They sure do. But then again, they don't look like me, and that's just not good. I mean, that's no.
Lots worse things in the world than being ugly.
Oh, boy. Tim Fitzgerald, Matt Walters, Travis Tannehill, and Riley Gates. This
Ho, ho, ho.
been your Insiders Podcast. Be safe over the holidays.
You've been listening to the Powercat Insiders Podcast, presented by Commerce Bank. Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
Fill me in. What happened?
30 years ago, the convent stole our children.
Ruth Wilson and Daryl McCormick star in the new Showtime original series, inspired by true events, The Woman in the Wall.
They were trying to bury this. All of it. The whole world looks at some people, but others just disappeared.
Girls were locked up and children were stolen. And you're trying to tell me no one knew anything about it?
I'm just trying to find my child!
The Woman in the Wall premieres January 19th on Paramount Plus, only with the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.